You know. You know. You.
Train smart with Triggonomics brand hardware.
Hey guys, it's March 11th, about 8:15 or so in the afternoon. There's a lot of news to talk about since I last blogged. We have the Arnolds, we had the UFC this weekend. We got Rihanna and Chris Brown getting back together again. Chris Brown getting rearrested, but obviously today the biggest news is the fact that we lost Charles Mask Lewis from Tap Out in a car accident last night. I've been spending the last 3 or 4 hours trying to figure out how I was going to do this blog. Make it funny like he would want it, make it humorous. Most of you that know me know I do not write. I hate to write. It's just not mine. When I used to write for Tap Out magazine, it was a tedious chore that I just don't like to do. I actually spent the last hour writing, trying to figure out what I was going to say. There are certain God-given talents that I have. Writing is not one of them. Speaking from the hip, being honest and sincere when I speak is one of the things that gives me my broadcasting credentials and is one of the things that either makes the fans hate me or love me. So I think I need to do it the exact same way. When Charles passed away, and I heard the news today when I was on Tag Radio, we got a hold of the news. Obviously, it was last night, or this early this morning at 1 a.m. We found out. I found out at about 10:30 or so. I got a message on our combat chat. I started doing some research. I called a couple people. They confirmed, but couldn't confirm truly until the police report came out. But I knew by 11:15 that in fact that Mask had passed away. And so my wife and him were very close, Nikki. For those of you that know my wife, you know Nikki. Her and Charles were very close. And it was a kind of a weird relationship because they would only talk to me once or twice a month. It was always about business. But she would come off the phone and have the rest of her day was brightened by the comments he made or the craziness that he did on the phone conversation. He's one of those guys, if you didn't get a chance to meet him, that you'll remember meeting him for the rest of your life. Not because of his mask, not because of his dress, not because of his actions, just because of the way he actually looks you in the eye and talks to you. He and truly, in my mind, Howard Combat Kimonos, HCK, were the first two original clothing companies in MMA and were there from the very beginning. First time I met Mask, it was before he was the Mask. A brown van, selling stuff literally out of a trunk of a car, but it was back of a van. I mean, that's what him and Dan were doing. It's pretty impressive to where they put the company today. He had all this from his mind, his hard work, and his dedication to us in the sport. And when I say us, I mean fighters. Now, he never sponsored me, so there's no monetary value of me coming out and doing this. I wore his shorts the majority of the time. It was either him or HCK's, all I would wear back and forth. And I did just because I loved the way he acted. I loved the way he treated the fighters. I loved the way he looked the fighter in the eye. And even when they lost, he didn't care. He was just happy to be around the fight game and watch it grow and watch the expansion. Mask was one of those guys. To me, he's kind of like a Harrison Ford, a Nicolas Cage, a John Travolta. You meet them one time, and it's kind of the story you can tell your grandkids forever when you met him. Because not only is he iconic in our sport, but he also was that guy that paid attention to you. I called somebody today and asked him to give me a phone number for a new designer for my clothing company. And we were sharing stories back and forth about Mask. And the one story that struck me big is that his daughter gave Mask a sticker from their clothing company, which is Fight Chicks. It was his little girl. Mask then took off his dog tags, his Tap Out dog tags, gave her those dog tags. Took the sticker, immediately put it on his body. No questions asked. Tore it off, stuck it on his clothing someplace, and gave her the dog tags, and she walked away. The daughter now, for the rest of her life, will always remember that one instance where she gave a man a sticker and got a set of dog tags. I think they were the expensive ones too. They weren't the cheaper ones. And that's just the way he was. He was always giving everything off the shirt, giving everything away he possibly could for the sport, for his fighters, and for the guys he believed in. And a lot of times he gave away a lot of that stuff to the people he didn't believe in because he knew that they could be better than they were. And that's kind of how our relationship went. He always knew I could be better than I was, both athletically, business-wise, speech-wise. Those of you who have been following my career, 8, 9 years ago, I wasn't the most pleasant person to be around. And he saw the change in me and helped me progress through that change. It's going to be a big loss for our sport. It was really a big loss. You probably couldn't lose a bigger name in the sport at this point in time. I mean, he really is going to be missed by all of us, whether we want to admit it or not. And those haters on the internet, they're talking about, against Tabo, against how they do things, against how they do stuff, even they are going to feel the impact of how big an icon he is within our sport. He is truly a Hall of Fame legendary participant of MMA. I mean, he's been around the sport longer than Zuf has been around the sport. This is a man that's been around longer than almost maybe, Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn are probably the only guys that have been in the sport longer than he has. And he built it from, the garage door to the corporate boardroom. And that's what he did. And really, Mass is going to be missed by me and by my family. I now have to go upstairs and try to console my wife a little bit more as she gets the kids down to bed. And we're going to have a long conversation tonight about his life and his accomplishments, because that's what we do. We try to celebrate somebody when they pass as much as we can. Anyway, this did not do Mask justice. It did not do the Tap Out Corporation justice, my video blog, but it made me feel better. And so that's why I did it. Have a good night, guys, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.